This video was made, created by me ZS0020 Prime, leader of the Defenders and master of the Skybase. I am also known as ZS Prime, ZS0020_Prime, and Sylveon Prime, and nobody has any permission to use this video without my permission or authorization. This music was made, created by me ZS0020 Prime, leader of the Defenders and master of the Skybase. I am also known as ZS Prime, ZS0020_Prime, and Sylveon Prime. And nobody has any permission to use this music without my permission or authorization.
Okay, good. I can say early morning, technically. It's almost 3 a.m. in the morning. So, this is just gonna be kind of just a video of me discussing, several things. What I want to discuss is, now first and foremost, I'm gonna make this little disclaimer right here and right now that, one, I'm no therapist. I'm just giving it, if I do give advice, I'm going to be giving it based on my own just personal experience, because I do have some experience dealing with this particular thing. And the thing that I'm going to talk about is basically having to deal with a narcissist or narcissistical people in general. I've had experience in the past. I'm pretty sure if any of you seen any of my previous videos, you'd know that I've had to deal with plenty of narcissistical people before in the past, particularly two individuals that I'm not going to name because I don't want to name people in this video, because that's not what the video is about. But I will say one thing. If you are dealing with somebody who's a narcissist, the best advice I can give you is don't engage with them. Don't I know your first instinct would be to try to, counteract them or try to, reason with them. But from my own personal experience, when it comes to narcissists, there is you can't really reason with them. Narcissists are the type of individuals who are basically, they're set in their ways. They're basically, in their book, you're always going to be the problem. Like, I don't know, maybe it's my personality or what, but from my own personal experience, from what I went through with dealing with not just one, but two narcissists, shoot, if you think dealing with one of them is a pain in the ass, try dealing with two of them. Oh boy. It's like everything's basically ramped up to, it's like the craziness is ramped up to 11 and the knob is completely turn off. Basically, let's just say it's like dealing with one of them was crazy enough for me. Dealing with both of them was even more crazy, and then dealing with both of them at the same time. Oh boy, if you have to deal with two narcissistical people at the same time, ooh, that's just, let's just say it's murder on my brain, to put it simply. It's literal murder on my brain. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's because of the way my brain is wired, but I personally can't stand narcissistical people. I just can't stand toxic people in general. And in my personal experience, not only was I dealing with narcissistical people, I was dealing with toxic narcissistical people. And that's literally a combination for disaster. Because all of this can happen separately, but when you're dealing with it all at once, in one foul swoop, and at the same time you're dealing with it from not just one person, but multiple people, more than one. Whoo boy, when you're dealing with not just one, basically, in my personal experience, I had to deal with basically two narcissistical people. And not just narcissistical, but toxic narcissistical people. People who are toxic and also narcissists at the same time. Which is scary, because in my personal experience, and I've watched other YouTubers who have qualifications to, discuss this kind of thing, who basically are like therapists or whatever you want to call them. But basically, judging by what I've seen and read about the whole terminology when it comes to a narcissist, I mean, hell, about not several years ago, but a really, 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 really long time ago, before I made even my first video, because when I first started making videos, most of them were call out videos, and yes, I still do those, but only when necessary. And as people have noticed, basically I stopped doing certain videos, but I still, I still am the type of person that, I'll still call somebody out if they need to be called out. But that's a whole different subject. But what I was getting to is, what I've learned is, to a narcissist, you're always going to be at fault. No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to please them. So trying to please a narcissist is an impossible task. You're not going to be able to satisfy them. There is no compromising when you're dealing with narcissists. Oh, there's no compromising. To them, you're always going to be the problem. You're always going to be the black sheep. You're always going to be this. You're always going to be that. It's always going to be, you did this to them, you did that to them. But ultimately, what they're going to do is, in a conversation, no matter what it'll be, is they'll try to turn the conversation around so it's all about them. Basically, narcissists are the type of people, they have to be the center of the universe. They have to be the center of attention. All eyes have to be on them. And true, heaven forbid you try to speak. Oh, trust me, you try to speak up against a narcissist, and they'll freaking try to come at you. They'll come at you like a bat out of hell. Because the one thing, and let me tell you right now, this, ladies and gentlemen, if you are dealing with a narcissist, don't be afraid to tell them no. Do not be afraid to tell them no. Even though it's the one word narcissists hate to hear, sometimes you just gotta, with narcissists, even though it'll drive them batshit crazy, the one thing narcissists want most of all is control. Either whether it be control over the conversation or control over you. That's the one thing narcissists want, is control. It's all about controlling. It's all about them trying to control you. And the only way to basically take that control away from them is to simply, start making boundary lines. Start saying, hey, yo, this is my boundary, and if you're not going to respect my boundary, then, then it's time for us to go our separate ways. That's basically what you need to do. That's what I did. That's what I did, and that's what I did when I was dealing with multiple narcissists, multiple toxic narcissists as well. Because, trust me, let's just say I went through some mental hell. That whole thing that happened to me was absolute mental hell. But the one thing you gotta remember is, it's all about control. Narcissists want to control the situation. They want all eyes to be on them. At the same time, they want an echo chamber. Basically, everybody has to basically repeat whatever they want to hear. Whatever the narcissist wants everybody to say. Basically, everybody has to be like, how should I put it? Basically, everybody in the narcissist's way of thinking, in the narcissist's eyes, you're basically their puppet. They want you to say whatever they want you to say. Basically, you can't speak your mind. You trust me, you'll feel like that. You'll feel like you can't speak your mind. You can't, you'll constantly feel like you're walking literally on eggshells. And that was the other reasons why I cut ties with certain people. Is because I got tired of having to walk on bloody eggshells, and I got sick and tired of having to literally look over my back every time I said something, And also, I just got tired of the general disrespect. And the thing about narcissists is, they'll try to claim up and down that they respect you, that yeah, la la. But the thing is, if it's a toxic narcissist, especially if you're dealing with a toxic individual who's a narcissist, they don't know what respect is. The thing is, it's not just a narcissist itself, but when you're dealing with somebody who also is toxic and a narcissist, that person, even though they're going to try to claim up and down they respect you, they're in reality, they don't respect you. They respect their own selves, basically. They basically only care about them. In a narcissist's line of perspective, it's all about them. Everything has to be about them, and if you don't lock step with them, they'll basically flip their lid. And that's another thing narcissists hate, is if you have a difference of opinion. If you try to voice your difference of opinion, narcissists will try to do everything in their power to shut you up. Whether it'll be, it depends on the kind of narcissistical person you're dealing with, whether they'll shoot off threats or they'll try to get flying monkeys to come after you, because in my personal opinion, in my personal opinion and in my time with dealing with the toxic narcissist that I was dealing with, I found out basically that in most cases, I'm not saying all, but most narcissists are kind of cowards. Like, if you try to confront them, they'll try to push back even more, trying to say that you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. That's what the narcissist does. They always try to look for a scapegoat. Somebody to blame for all of their problems, for everything bad that happens to them. It's always someone's fault. It's always somebody else. And that's another thing I'm going to say is, narcissists do not like to take accountability. They will not take accountability for their actions. They will not take accountability for their behavior. They will not take accountability for anything they do. It's always somebody else's fault. They can do no wrong. They're the perfect freaking being. That's basically how narcissists think. Which, in my personal opinion, it's a ridiculous way to think, because the thing is, one, nobody can be perfect. Nobody can truly be perfect. Hell, even I have flaws, and I'm more than willing to admit them, despite, yes, I have pride and everything, blah blah blah, but still, pride aside, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a perfect being. I'm not. I have my own flaws and everything. But what a narcissist does, a narcissist will not admit their flaws. It's always going to be somebody else's fault. It's always going to be, he did this to me, she did this to me. It's her fault because my life is imperfect. Maybe if this person gets their act together, it's always somebody else who has to get their act together. It's always someone else. And also, it's always, someone else who's the problem of the situation. That's the other thing that I've noticed when I was dealing with that situation. Yes, for the moment, and yes, I'm pretty sure everybody are wondering, for the moment the situation is stable, and basically I cut ties with those. Personally, in my personal opinion, the ultimate best thing you can do for yourself is if everything else fails, cut contact with narcissists. Just cut them out of your life like a cancer. Just cut them out of your freaking life, because the thing you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, is your mental health worth dealing with somebody who basically cares who cares only about themselves and doesn't care about you? Is it worth your mental health? Is it actually worth to be friends, or to be friends with somebody like that, or to associate yourself with somebody like that? Is it worth the mental anguish, the mental pain of having to constantly, essentially, basically beat your head against a brick wall. Because that's the other thing that I've noticed is no matter what you say, you're not, narcissists, they don't change. They'll try to claim up and down, left and right, that, oh yeah, I'll change my behavior, blah, blah, blah. They don't change. Maybe they'll change for about 5 minutes, maybe even 2 minutes if you're lucky, but they'll go right back to being the way they are because because narcissists are hardwired to be narcissists. They're basically hard. I'm not sure exactly how to explain it to them, but it's how their brain is basically hardwired. They're not going to change. Especially if you're dealing with a toxic narcissist. Your toxic narcissists don't change either because they're at the main core, they're still a narcissist. Even though they're a toxic narcissist, they're still a narcissist, and narcissists cannot change. And maybe there's a few cases where maybe depending on how much of a narcissist somebody is, maybe. Like the phrase goes, the first step to admitting you have a problem is the first step to confronting your problem is to admitting that you have a problem. But that's the thing about narcissists is they can't admit that they have problems. In most cases, in the majority of cases, and after the stuff that I witnessed, I'm convinced that. I'm not saying all narcissists, but a great majority of narcissists just are they can't change, and not the fact that they just can't. They're not even willing to change, because the thing about change, and the thing about changing the thing about changing how you act towards others. It's not just, saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to change, things are going to be... No, you actually have to put effort. You actually have to make a conscious effort to make that change. And narcissists, judging through what... Basically, based on what I went through, narcissists don't have the capability of making that change. Because they're basically stuck... They're stuck thinking that they're perfect. They can't do no wrong. It's always somebody else who's the problem. And basically, that's why I say the best thing you can do for yourself. And I know for some people it may be tough because heck, sometimes it's not just your friends that could be narcissistic. It could be your own family members that could be narcissistical. Or even a toxic narcissist. I mean, it's a whole. Just about anybody could have a narcissistical. Can be a narcissist. What I'm trying to say, and sometimes depending on the individual circumstances, it could be difficult to just upright and cut contact with the narcissist, but. If cutting contact, I can't speak. If cutting contact is not an option, then I would recommend the next thing I would recommend is limiting contact to a bare flipping minimum, because trust me, your brain will thank you for it, because trust me. The stuff that I went through, even though it was years ago, I still get freaking PTSD till this very day because, shoot, let's just say the individuals that I had to deal with caused a lot of trouble for, not just for me, but for multiple other people, but because of all that stuff that I had to deal with, after basically the last incident that happened, I was like, that's it. I'm done. Never again. For my own mental security, I have to cut contact with these two people. And that's exactly what I did. I cut contact with those two people. And I think it's already been, ever since the last incident, I'm pretty sure one of my. I'm pretty sure it's in one of my video files because I think it was the last video that I made when I was dealing with, well, with those two individuals, and also those individuals got other individuals, other flying monkeys involved, which is a classic narcissistical tactic. Is to try to try to get other people to basically white knight for them, to shield them from because I guess my own opinions disrupted the demons. As how should I put this? My own opinions didn't lockstep with those particular individuals, and they got other individuals involved, and basically it turned into a big old train wreck. And long story short, to put it simply, I basically cut contact and never looked back because those two individuals were just not worth my time. Because, and I'm gonna share like backstory a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna go like on a bit of a backstory. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'll just call it like a backstory story or whatever you want to call it. But basically, I got contact for various multiple reasons, including my own mental health. Because the thing is, I just didn't need that craziness anymore. Because, shoot, I remember how it was when things were going, and it was literally drama after drama after drama after drama. And at that point, let's just say, when I cut the day that I cut contact with those two particular toxic narcissists was the day that I gained my freedom. Because the one thing the narcissists hate, the other thing that narcissists hate, and it's like one of the main things that they hate, is when they lose control. And this has been proven many times to me, and I've witnessed it many times myself. How a narcissist will literally flip their shit if they lose their control, because it's all about control. It's all about, it has to be about them. And if anybody starts talking about anything else that doesn't revolve around them, they basically have to do everything in their power to regain that control. But when that person basically gets up and says, just like I did, I basically got up and said I had enough of dealing with a freaking echo chamber, and I'm not gonna live in a fucking echo chamber, so I just basically got up and cut and left. I basically got up and left and cut contact, and that's basically what drove. Let's just say, even though they didn't say it, I knew for a fact that it drove them insane. The mere fact that they couldn't control me anymore, and they couldn't control other people that were involved in the situation anymore, that's what riled up their demons. That's what made them really, really despise me. And even though certain individuals have claimed up and down that they don't despise me, I know for a fact that they do, because classic narcissism 101. As soon as a narcissist loses control, they will despise you. You'll basically become public enemy number one to them. Basically, even if you are not even talking about them, they'll try to make it like you're talking about them. Even if you're not even mentioning them, they'll still try to say you're mentioning them. I've dealt with that in my past too, because it's like, I don't even mention names in my videos, and yet people still want to try to act like I'm talking about them, which is ridiculous. It's like, and that's basically classic. That's classic narcissism 101. Even if it's not about them, they'll try to make it about them. They'll try, because you're public enemy number one to them. And the advice I can give you there is, if they do try to, Sometimes, if the narcissist is capable of doing it, they'll try to make a video about you. They'll try to, of course, if the slander gets severe enough, you can, of course, take the legal route because, slander is slander, and if it causes actual damage, then yeah, you can take legal actions. That usually shuts up just about every person. But the ultimate thing that would be best if legal actions isn't an option is to basically just don't engage. No matter what they do, don't buy into it, don't engage, just straight up ignore them because they'll try to do everything in their power to regain their control because it's all about control. It's all about them basically they want to be the puppet master. They want to have all eyes on them, and they want to control everybody like a puppet master. And you basically in their line of thinking, you have to be a good little puppet and do as they want you to do. That's basically the kind of individuals that I had to deal with. And the best thing I can tell you is, no matter what they do, ignore them. And which brings me to another thing. A narcissist will also try to regain your trust. Once they lose your trust, they'll try to do everything in their power to get back in your good graces. I believe the term is called bootlicking or ass kissing. And narcissists will try to do that. They'll literally try to kiss your ass. They'll try to lick your boots. They'll try to basically they'll try to do everything in their power to get on your good graces. So that way, they can regain their control over you again. All I can tell you right now, all I can tell you about that is, if that happens, don't let them. Ignore them. Simply say, nope, I'm not interested. And if they can't take no for an answer, they can go pound sand. And if those people continue, bothering you, that's on whether it's on social media or on YouTube or anywhere else, that's why the block button was invented. The way to take care of it is do what I did when I was when I had to do what I did. Block them. Just block them and be done with it. Cut ties. Don't allow them back into your lives, because that's, if I can say you the regrets that I had is I made the critical mistake of letting them back into my lives. Of letting those particular toxic narcissists back into my life. That was the mistake I made. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'll never be making that mistake ever again. That was the worst mistake that I've ever made. That was the worst mistake. I don't know. Maybe some people will say I'm too kind or whatever it is. I don't know what the hell possessed me to make that mistake. But like I said, I'm not perfect. It was a mistake that I made, and let's just say I've definitely lived to regret it. Oh, I've lived to regret it, because thanks to my kindness, I got basically stabbed. As soon as my back got turned, I got stabbed in the back again, and that's what led to the incident that basically the last straw that broke the camel's back, which led me to basically permanently block those individuals and basically cut contact with those individuals. That's what basically that was basically the turning point for me. When I said, "That's it. I've had enough. I can't deal with those. I can't deal with those particular toxic people anymore. I can't deal with the narcissistical attitude. I can't deal with just the plain disrespect, because it was I just couldn't deal with being essentially being treated like shit." And that's what narcissists will do. They'll try to make you believe like they'll try to act all nice, all welcoming, but that will change very quickly, and they'll start treating you like garbage. Believe it, because because in their eyes they can't do no wrong, and you're always going to be the problem. That's why the best thing I could tell you is if the narcissist or toxic narcissist, however you want to put it, if a narcissist tries to come back into your life, whatever you do for your own personal mental health, I suggest you don't. I suggest you don't let them back into your life. Don't let them back into your life. Don't engage with them because the ultimate thing is at the end of the day what the narcissists want is control. They wanna control. They basically want to regain the control that they've lost, and they'll try to do whatever it takes to regain that control. And trust me, I've seen it all, and I've been around the block many times. They'll even try to take puck chats at you, as one would say. Basically, they'll try to, for example, they'll try to act like they're interested in the same hobbies as you are, or they'll try to act like they're interested in the same things that you are interested in. When the fact of the matter is, they're not. They're just trying to say that they are in order to get into your good graces. Basically, they'll use every trick in the book of tricks to try to get into your good graces. The key thing to remember is you have to resist it. You have. I know your ultimate, and also there are also. You have to resist it, and also the other thing narcissists will try to do is they'll also try to if bribery doesn't work or trying to get in your good graces doesn't work, they'll try to basically force you into submission, sort of say, or they'll try to, or in my personal experience, they'll try to silence you by any means necessary. And what I mean by any means necessary is they'll try to get others involved to silence you. But the one thing you have to remember is don't back down. Do not back down to a narcissist. If especially when you're 100% right, when you're 110% right in the situation, and you know that what that individual or individuals have done to you is wrong, do not back down, because they'll another thing narcissists will try to do, and this happened in my personal experience, is they will try to make you doubt yourself. They'll try to place the seed of doubt in your mind, make you second guess yourself. Don't second guess yourself, because that's the trap that's basically a trap that a narcissist will try to set for you. Is they'll also try to guilt trip you. They're not above guilt tripping. They'll try to guilt trip you. They'll try to make you feel guilty. But the thing is, when you speak the truth, you have nothing to feel guilty about, because first things first, you gotta remember is you're just like every other living being on planet Earth. You're entitled to your opinion, and just because somebody else doesn't agree with your opinion doesn't mean they get to come after you or attack you. But at the same time, when you're dealing with a narcissist, you got to be very careful. If you do have to respond, because I know sometimes things can get to a point where you can't ignore it any further, and believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I've been there before. The thing is, you have to remember is don't get overly aggressive, because that's what the narcissist wants. They want to get that kick out of you. And also, if you project aggression, they'll basically try to double down and try to blame everything on you. The thing is, what I would recommend is, first and foremost, if a narcissist does try to call you out or something like that, don't engage with them, because that's one of their tactics that they'll try to use. They'll try to keep the fire going, as one would say. They'll try to basically they'll keep on trying to engage you in conversation. They'll keep on trying to do whatever it takes to try to regain that control. That's why the ultimate best thing to do, like I've said before, is use the block button. If you're on social media on YouTube, well, blocking on YouTube works kind of differently, since even though you block somebody on YouTube, they can still see your stuff. They just can't comment. But the one thing I would have to say is you have to be firm with a narcissist. You have to be firm. You have to. I'm not saying you have to scream and shout at them, because screaming and shouting usually doesn't end well. But then again, like I've said before, nobody's perfect, and tempers can flare sometimes. I've had many moments where I've blown my stack, or basically blown my top, as the phrase goes. Because just like every other human being, I also have a temper. I try to not show it as often, because I'm not. I try to make sure I don't. Well, personally, I don't like being an angry person. Also, I don't like making angry videos, because it's an emotionally draining process when you're angry. And also, another thing I want to touch on is it's a emotional draining. It's an emotional, mental draining process when you're dealing with a narcissist. Trust me, you'll know what I'm talking about if you ever had to deal with. You will literally feel not just emotionally drained, but mentally drained. Like, you'll literally feel like your head is about to explode. So basically, my advice is, when you start to get to that point, you have to basically you have to sit down. You have to sit yourself down. First and foremost, you basically have to tell that person, hey, first and foremost, you have to sit yourself down, and you have to kind of like reevaluate how you want to proceed further. Do you want to continue being that narcissist, associating yourself with that narcissist, especially if that narcissist is also a toxic narcissist? You have to really think about, is it mentally worth associating yourself with that kind of person? Is it worth the immense mental anguish? Is it worth constantly feeling like you're walking on eggshells? Is it worth it? That's the one question you have to ask yourself at the end of the day: is it worth it? Is it worth it to actually continue a relationship with this with this narcissistical person, especially if they're a toxic narcissist? Because, oh boy, dealing with a narcissist is one thing, but when you're dealing with a toxic narcissist, you're basically dealing with multiple things at once. You're dealing with like multiple personality traits, because yes, a toxic individual is also a personality trait, I believe. All I can tell you is, no matter what's going on, you have to be strong. You have to be firm. And the best thing I can tell you is, just don't give up and don't surrender. Don't give in to their demands. They'll try to make demands. They'll try to scream demands at you. Don't give in to their demands. Just simply say no, and not just say no, mean it. And if they can't respect your boundaries, then they can go pound sand. Because at the end of the day, you have to think of it this way: if the person isn't mature enough to respect boundaries that you've set, then that person isn't really a good person. Number one, and two, they're not worthy of your time. Because if in a relationship, there has to be boundaries. Otherwise, you just have freaking chaos. But there has to be boundaries, whether it's a friend relationship or whether you're in an actual relationship like married or dating. There has to be boundaries. And if the person on the other side can't respect your boundaries, then there can't be any friendship because it's just a one-sided friendship. And to a narcissist, that's the other that's another that's one of their other kryptonites. You could say that's the word no is their ultimate kryptonite, and also setting boundaries is another thing that they not why don't you stop saying one thing? Another thing that they hate is when you start to set boundaries because once again it affects their control. It all leads back to one key word: control, control, control. It's all about the control. Because to a narcissist, they have to be in control. They have to be the center. Otherwise, they basically lose their shit. At the end of the day, to boil it all down, the one thing the one piece of advice I can leave you off with, because it's starting to get late, so I'm going to conclude this pretty soon. Maybe I'll do another part, maybe not, I don't know. I'm probably just going to do a one part and be done with it because I don't want to be talking about this too much because let's just say it brings back unpleasant memories that I don't want to relive, to put it nicely. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to boil this down to is this. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you have to be firm. And don't be afraid to use the word no. Yeah, you may become public enemy number one in the narcissist book, but the way you have to think about it is like this. Is it mentally worth it? You have to do like a self-assessment of yourself. You have to ask yourself, is it worth your mental energy, your emotional energy, your overall, your mental energy, your emotional energy, your overall energy itself? Is it worth spending your energy on someone who is never going to respect you, on someone who's never going to give a care about you, because narcissists are incapable of caring about anybody else besides their own selves? Or let me rephrase this. I should say most narcissists, because I can't say every single narcissist, because I can't group one thing. But in my personal experience, narcissists are not capable about caring about other people besides themselves. So the thing you have to think about is, do you wanna actually have a relationship with somebody like that? Do you actually want to be friends with somebody like that? And when you're able to answer that question, you'll have your answer whether or not you should be, what you should do, whether you should cut ties or how else you should proceed. Now, if you're dealing with a family member, yes, it's going to be more difficult. But at the end of the day, you have to once again ask that question. Is it worth your energy? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your mental energy? Is it worth your emotional energy? Is it worth literally spending an enormous amount of time and energy essentially talking to a brick wall? Because unless you have some sort of weird magic ability, you're not gonna take it from somebody who has experience. You're not gonna get through a narcissist. You're not gonna get through the thick skull of a narcissist. It's just not gonna happen. So the ultimate thing I would suggest is think about your own mental health and think about whether or not it's worth potentially putting your own, mental health and emotional health at risk. Because yes, not only can insanity kill you, but stress can also, actually, how should I put it? Not only can insanity unalive you, but stress can also unalive you. And yes, stress can majorly mess you up. So my suggestion would be is I'm not gonna tell you what to do because I don't have the. I'm not a psychiatrist or therapist. But my suggestion as one human being to another is, if you can, cut ties with a narcissist as soon as you can, because it's just not worth. Personally, to me, it's not worth the mental anguish. It's not worth beating your head up again, basically beating your head against the wall, because that's basically how I felt. I felt like I was beating my head against the wall, and trust me, you'll feel the same way too. And it's not an illusion. It is exactly what's going on. You are beating your head against the wall because nothing you say to a narcissist will change them. They're incapable of. Most narcissists are incapable of change. I've had experience in the past where some people where someone did change, but the thing is they chose to change. That's the ultimate key is somebody can't change unless they choose to. And in order for somebody to choose to change, they first have to admit that they have a problem. And the one thing narcissists can't do, or severely struggle to do, is admitting that they have a problem. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to suggest is this: if you can, just cut ties with the narcissist. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And also, if once you do make that leap and cut ties, don't re-engage. No matter what they do, do not re-engage. Just ignore them, because believe me, from experience, from my own personal experience, I'm going to tell you right now, they'll do whatever it takes to try to get you to engage. Just remember, it's not worth the mental anguish. It's not worth the mental stress. That's the questions you have to ask it. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself this question: is it worth it? Is it actually worth it? So, anywho, I think that's going to be the end of my rant, or whatever you want to call this video. I'm just going to call it me talking about stuff. But I'm not sure if anybody's going to watch this video or not. But if you do like this video, if you guys like this video, don't forget to, leave a like, share it. Maybe this video will help somebody. Not sure. I just felt like I needed to get all of this off of my chest, because I don't know what really got me in the mood to make this video, but I don't know. I guess I'm having one of those moments where I'm just remembering stuff at 3 a.m. It's already past 3 a.m., so at like 3 a.m. in the morning, but I don't know. So anywho, ladies and gentlemen, I think this video has gone long enough. I think I'm already probably almost at an hour, so editing this video is going to be a nightmare. So I'll see you all in my next video, whenever it is and whatever it is. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Have a good day and or night, everybody, and stay safe out there. Stay safe, stay healthy, and just don't let the craziness affect you, if you can. Anywho, I'll see you all later. Bye. Oh yeah, 48 minutes. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, is this thing still recording? Yeah, it is. Okay, where's the button?